Hi you guys, this is Jamie with Whatever's Clever Boutique, and today we're going to make this Soak Up the Sun tumbler. Note the irony of there being snow in the background. We got snow late this year where I live, so while there is sun, there's also snow. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and use this vinyl. It came in a mystery box, I believe from Adhesive Apothecary. There's no label or anything. I'm not sure who it's from, so I do apologize. I'll see if I can find something similar. And then I just have this random tumbler from way back in the day. I believe it's 40 ounce. Again, it was one of those things. I didn't have a box, any of that. It came in a mystery box, so we're just using it up. But this vinyl piece as well as that little decal line up perfectly on this tumbler, so I don't have to trim either of them, just that little white line off of the vinyl. But I'm going to go ahead using the hinge method, apply that vinyl to the bottom portion of the tumbler, not wrapping over the bottom, as we're going to go ahead and glitter that. Once we get that all laid down, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess with my X-Acto knife. Now I'm going to go ahead and tape off the top part and bottom part of that vinyl so that we can base paint our tumbler. Now I will say that I would recommend putting the handle on right before we base paint this tumbler. I will show you why later, but just so you guys are aware later when I'm talking about it, this is the step where I would have initially put that handle on, all said and done. But I'm going to go ahead and use this paint/glue from Adhesive Apothecary. I believe the color was Terret. I was a little disappointed in the coverage here. I had to do a couple of coats. I do have a few of these that work really well, but this one definitely took quite a bit. But once we get that all applied, we're going to use Mai Tai from Chase Ray Glitters. It is a super pretty chunky. It's got some yellows, got some pinks, got some orange. It just works perfectly with this vinyl that we're using. But we're going to go ahead and just sprinkle that all over the tumbler. And then once that's done, we're going to go ahead and base paint the bottom of the tumbler with that same glitter, glue, paint mixture. And I'm going to actually use Paradise from Chase Ray Creations for the bottom because I don't want to put a chunky glitter down there, as that is just such a pain to get covered with epoxy and have it lay flat and not have to do a ton of sanding. So I went with Paradise, as this is basically the same color as a color that's in the chunky mix, so it works perfectly. Once we get everything all glittered, we're going to go ahead and remove that tape. And then I'm going to go ahead and seal it twice with Rust-Oleum 2-time gloss spray paint so that when we go to put our epoxy on, we don't have any glitter travel. And at that point, when it's dry, we're going to go in with 2 coats of KSRESIN Liquidy Split Ultra UV Epoxy. Now for the handle, again, I would have applied the handle directly to the tumbler in hindsight, but here's how I went ahead and did it. I hot glued that handle to a turner rod, and I'm just going to go ahead and base paint the bottom of the handle, if that makes sense. I'm going to base paint that the bright orange, as that's what's going to be sitting up against that Mai Tai glitter. Once that orange glue dries, I'm going to take my Paradise glitter and Pacific. And Pacific is a pretty solid color, so we don't need to base paint the actual sun portion, as that's where it's going to go. So I just go straight in with my UV resin, and I'm just going to take my time applying that UV resin all over every little nook and cranny of that sun part of the handle. This did take quite a bit of time, so in the magic of YouTube, I did speed it up and cut some of it out. But we're going to go ahead and get that all covered and then sprinkle on that Pacific glitter. Now that we got all that glitter on, we're going to go ahead and cure that under our UV lamp for about a minute and a half. Once it's all cured, we're going to go back in with our UV resin and we're going to put that just right over the part we base painted orange. Paradise is a little more transparent, hence why I put that orange paint down there first. But we're going to go ahead and do the same thing that we did with our sun to our base. Now that we have it all glittered, I'm going to go back in with my UV resin and I am going to just put a coat of resin over top of the glitter to seal it all in before we put it on our tumbler. That way we don't get any glitter transfer, anything like that. This is just going to save us a little bit of headache later. Once that's all cured and everything's coated in the resin, we're going to take our X-Acto knife and just loosen up that hot glue. And I'm just going to snap that right off of the turner rod. And as you can see there, the edges are pretty rough since we had it sitting on the turner rod. We're now going to have to cut all that off. If you apply this to the tumbler first, like I suggest doing in the future, this will save you from this whole step. And you just avoid all of that in the end. So once we get that handle all done, we're going to go ahead and take our tumbler, which now is all epoxied, and we're going to first put on our decal, which we will do with the hinge method. So I'll just pull a little bit of that backing, cut off, and lay that right on the tumbler. Now to apply the handle, we're going to take a rough grit sanding block and we're just going to kind of go up and down right where we're going to put that handle, just so that our UV resin has something to adhere to. And then we're going to take some rubbing alcohol and just wipe that off to be sure there's no residual. But before we go ahead and apply that handle, I'm going to stripe my vinyl. And this striping file that I use, I've talked about it many times, is on my website, available for purchase. And I just cut a ton of colors in this striping pattern. That way when I go to do striping like this, I can just pull this bin out, pick which color I like, and go from there. You don't have to fire up your Silhouette or your Cricut every single time, and it has just been a lifesaver. But I decided to use this kind of sparkly holographic black vinyl, and I'm just going to use my thinnest pinstripe that I have on here to basically just finish off the vinyl on either side and not make it look just like such a harsh line from the vinyl to the glitter, and give it kind of just more of that completed look. Now to apply our handle, I'm just going to take a little bit of UV resin, place it right on that handle base, and then I'm gonna let that cure for quite some time. I believe I did, like, honestly 5 minutes on each side, which may be overkill, but I just didn't want to take the chance of there being any uncured UV resin. Now that our handle's applied, I did not love the look of that paradise glitter on the handle. Again, had you applied the handle earlier, we could have just glittered it right with the tumbler itself, but we didn't. So again, I didn't love how this looked. So I took just a little bit of resin and applied it to that handle and a little bit over the side. And I just took our Mai Tai glitter and just sprinkled it right over there to make it more blended. And then we're gonna go in with our 2 final coats of epoxy. And I love so much more how the handle looks now that it's kind of tied together with that Mai Tai glitter. But again, had we applied that handle at the beginning, it would have saved a lot of these steps and ultimately just been more efficient. But I do love how it turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this tutorial. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I have everything listed and linked in the description box below, as well as some discount codes. I will see you guys again soon. Thank you.